Hey everybody, welcome to the Uncle Show. I am Uncle Rob. The Uncle Rhino is sitting in Shreveport, Louisiana. I'm here in Little Rock, Arkansas. And I'll tell you what, we love to get new artists in here, but we also like to get those veterans, those legends. And I'm going to tell you right now, there, this is the biggest legend we've had on the show. Am excited about having him on here. This man was Mr. Mid 80s with the music for sure. Mr. Leon Everette. What's up, Leon?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Man, we
I'm
are
doing
doing
good.
good. Doing
Man, I'm here in
good.
South Carolina enjoying this beautiful, beautiful hot weather.
And it's only gonna get hotter.
It's only gonna get hotter. It's pretty hot right now.
So for folks,
Hey, it's a pleasure y'all having me on here, brother.
absolutely, man. It is I got with Beverly a couple days ago and I was like, man, what are the chances of getting Leon on the show? She's like, hang on. And 30 minutes later, she had it all set up, and I'm like, here we go. This is good. This is a
Well, you,
good
you
deal.
know, with Beverly, she don't ask; she just tells.
She said, by the way, you're going to be there at 2:15 on a Wednesday or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's exactly how I get. Yeah. Oh, by the way, did I tell you at 3:15 you are?
So, what I like to do with someone in your position who has tasted the big, I mean, you've had 8 top 10 hits, you've had 10 top 20 hits. I believe those numbers are right.
11 straight top tens in Billboard.
So, I mean, you know what it takes. You know what it was like to be there. Tell us a little bit about those early days. First of all, tell us a little bit about you for the folks who don't know who you are.
Well, of course, I'm Leon Everette, of course, but I signed with RCA Records the last part of 1979, and from 1980 to 1985, I had 11 straight top 10 Billboard records, three number one records. I was nominated New Male Vocalist of the Year in 1981. Had the biggest selling record of the year in 1983, which was a song called "Give Me What You Think Is Fair." And we talked about Beverly, by the way. Uh, uh, my best friend in the world was Rex Gosden, Vern Gosden's brother. And Rex and Les Reed wrote that song. And anyway,
Really?
it became the biggest selling record of 1983. And then in 1983, it turned out to be such a great, great year. You remember the soft drink Mellow Yellow? Well,
Oh,
I say, remember, it's
absolutely.
still out there.
They
Coca
call it
Cola.
mellow yellow.
Yeah, well, so you got the old commercial.
Yeah.
I started Mellow Yellow in 1983, and Coca Cola got in touch with us, and they flew us out to Kansas City, Missouri, to the advertising place, and they said this is a new soft drink we've just come up with, and they let us drink it and all this kind of stuff, and said we want to get a campaign together to introduce it. And so anyway, I drank it and I really liked it, and I still drink it today. I mean, I love Mellow Yellow. But anyway, they said, "Can you write themes and can you write this and do this and film this and film that for TV and Billboard and all this kind of stuff?" I said, "Sure." So we signed a 3-year contract with Coca-Cola for me to introduce it. And so you're doing the old commercial. The original commercial was "Mellow Yellow, rocks your thirst away." You remember that one?
Nice. Yeah. Did you
But
write
that was
that?
the original. Yeah, we wrote all that. And so then we got it kicked off at radio and all this stuff. So then we they wanted to film the TV commercials. Well, then we got Buddy Allen and Buck Owens out in Bakersfield, California. They got involved with us. I mean, I love Buck and Buddy. We was always buddies anyway. Buddy Allen. They had the big radio station there in Bakersfield. Well, we got involved with them and said, so Buddy Allen said, "Hey, we'll get a big crowd together. We'll have hot dogs, and of course they're gonna have everybody drinking Mellow Yellow, and
Absolutely.
stage a big old concert thing for the filming, and break it up when they change cameras and all that there. But it was all free. Man, they had thousands of people
100,000
there.
people?
Yeah, for a fake concert, so to speak. And, and then they had a trampoline down off the stage, and Mellow Yellow rocks your thirst away, and I'd come running out there and hit that trampoline like I'm flying through the air, and all this kind of good stuff. But anyway, we started that in 1983. And then also in 1983, Crystal Gale, Bobby Bear, and myself, we were the
Ooh,
first country show to do a country show in Wembley Stadium in London.
nice.
Yeah, that was in 1983. Sure did. And then the next year, I went back. They had me come back again for the next year, and me and Ronnie Millsap and I can't remember who all it was. Ronnie Millsap.
Mm.
There's a bunch of us went back the second year, but then it's still going today. They still have a big thing there at Wembley Stadium today, and country music. But
Now,
yeah,
was it
I was
all people
blessed to
on
be.
RCA Records that were going?
No, it was just Bobby Bear and Crystal Gale and myself on the first one.
Well, I knew Ronnie was on RCA at one time, so I didn't know if y'all were sticking with RCA artists.
No. In fact, Venice, Crystal was on. I don't remember what she was on. Capitol Columbia. I don't remember what she
Warner
was on.
Brothers or something.
Was it Warner Brothers? And Bobby Bear was on what? Dot or was it
That
Dot? I don't know.
that's been a hot minute.
Decca, Decca, I think, or one of them. I don't know. That's been so long. I don't remember. But
Yeah.
anyway, I was the only RCA act on the first one. And then, like I say, next year it was me and Ronnie Millsap. And I can't even remember who all went with us. You know, but but that became a big thing. And here a while back, they had a big thing on the news. It said Taylor Swift sold out Wembley Stadium in London. I looked at my wife who was watching on it. I looked at my wife and said, "What's so big about that? We did that in 1983."
And the
People
stadium didn't
forget.
get any bigger, so it's the same crowd.
Yes, what's the big deal?
But you know what? You ought to feel good. She's the thing right now. I mean, I'm not a fan of hers. I'm not a fan of hers. But it's like
Exactly.
I
Me
got
either.
to respect what she has done.
She has
But that's
she
good
has done
company to be
something.
in. But
Yeah.
you're talking '83 now. We talked earlier. You had some big hits. 81, 82. You had a Hurricane album. I think that was the name of the album. You
It
had at
was.
least two big hits off of that one, right?
Gosh, I had let's see. Um gosh, what I had Given Up Easy was on that. Um was Midnight Rodeo on that one? I think Midnight Rodeo
I want to
was
say Midnight Rodeo and Hurricane were both on that one.
right. Uh Shoot, I can't remember.
Well, I mean, it was a big seller. I
I'm
tell
getting
you
old,
that.
Rob. I can't remember.
You're not getting
I,
old. You're getting better.
I'm 78. How about that? I just
Well,
I'm
if it makes you feel better, you do not look 78 years old. Ryan, what do
well,
you think, bro?
Shit, no. Yeah, I look like somebody's karma ran over my dogma, and I'm quite a bit younger than 78. Yeah, I went to school. I tell all the pups I work with that I went to school with Jesus, and he cheated off my history homework. That's how old I am. But with everybody else, man, it's like, dude, you're like I told you backstage, you rocking it, bro. You and we crossed the same. Me and you travel some of the same roads, but you had better judgment when you picked an off ramp.
no, I love it. I love you from where?
Yeah.
Shreveport.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm from Tyler, Texas, but I'm
Okay.
over.
Hey, I broke my foot in Tyler, Texas at a big festival down there.
Well, some people break foot, some people break hearts. Something's gonna get tore up while you're there. It's
Yeah,
automatic.
yeah, we did that big old thing. It was in Tyler, gosh, way back yonder.
The
And
oil
and,
palace.
and when it was outdoors, it was an outdoor festival.
All right, then
I
that
can't,
would have
yeah,
been
and
the
I
East
can't remember, but I
Texas.
know we did sound check that day.
Mm-hmm.
And the stage, I don't know what it was like 4 foot off the 4 or 5 foot off the ground or whatever.
Yeah.
But we did sound check and all that stuff. And I went back to the bus I took me a nap and all this stuff. Anyway, that night we went on. Well, as well as I do, them spotlights, everything's in your eyes, you can't see. Well, nobody told me that they dug a 3 foot moat type thing in front of the stage to keep people from, they couldn't go but so far. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know that. I had in my head, because I jump off the stage a lot. I used to jump off crazy. So I went running and jumped off the stage, and
Right
I
in the
was about
moat.
3 foot further down than I thought I was, and I hit, and I broke my foot. But I finished that show with my cowboy boot on. We caught a plane straight to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, because I was doing a big radio show appreciation thing in Winston-Salem, North Carolina that next day, and I wouldn't take my boot off. And I flew. I did the show in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And time I got done with the show, they rushed me to the hospital, cut my boot off. My foot was that big around, and
Wow.
it broke my foot, but I kept my boot on. to keep
In
it in
your
place.
defense, especially back then, there was not one ugly woman in that whole Smith County. You couldn't find them. It was the land of the virgin pines and the tall women. It wasn't your fault. You couldn't. You're not to blame for all the gut sucking in and all that stuff. That you were just trying to impress them.
Yeah, you're gonna give all our secrets away now, Uncle Ryan.
I, I ain't giving them all away, but I will sprinkle them from time to time and see who catches them.
And
And
you had a look on your album covers back in the 80s too. You always like to have that shirt open. You could show that chest. I was looking at
Well, I
the
had about 5 hairs up there. I was proud of them things.
hell
you're
yeah,
proud, eh? Look at this is what I got.
yeah.
So
You can't
nowadays,
bring you
Then
can't bring sexy back
when
if
they
it ain't
started
never
turning
left,
gray,
Leon.
you just go get just for men.
Yeah. You heard that, didn't you, Leon? You can't bring sexy back if it ain't never left, bro. That's true right there. You can't.
Oh my word, you're a mess.
Yeah, that's what Satchel Paige said when they asked him if he's gonna warm up. He said, "Shoot, I ain't never cooled it off." Yeah.
Oh my word.
Mhm.
so all this is going on early to mid 80s.
Yes.
What so when did your contract with RCA when did that end?
Well, it it ended the day that
The billboard shot you right down.
well, you see,
What happened?
about the last 2 years that I was with RCA, things would kind of go a little bit sour, a little south. I ain't gonna get into it all, but if things started getting a little sideways here and there, and this, in other words, it wasn't what I signed up for. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And few things, it was just going south. And then so one day, in 1985, I was on my 11th straight top 10 Billboard record, and I was at number 8 Super Bullet. Well, back in the day in Billboard, a Super Bullet meant it was the hottest, most added, hottest thing, most requested, blah blah blah. You
And
know
what
how that
song
works.
is that?
Uh, 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 I could have had you. That
Okay.
was my last one, and it was 8 Super Bullet. I mean, it's one of the hottest records there is at that time. And I was at 8 Super Bullet Billboard, and me and one of the head officials at RCA, we kind of got into it a little bit in the office. And I'm gonna go back a little bit, Robbie. Tell you, I was a drunk. I mean, I stayed drunk 24/7. I wasn't the most pleasantest person to be around. I had an attitude because I went from zero, not a dime to my name in 1979. In 1985, my net worth was $18 million,
Yeah, you're on
just my
top of the
net.
world.
Yeah, and I mean, my attitude changed, and of course, I mean, I stayed drunk 24/7 and messed up, and I really didn't care, about nothing, and I had a bad attitude. And so me and one of the head officials at RCA, we kind of got into it in his office one day, and I just popped out and I just told him what he could do with Nipper the dog. Nipper the dog is the logo for RCA.
Yeah.
Remember the thick trolling? The
Oh
little white
yeah.
dog
Your
sitting.
master's
Yeah,
voice.
yeah, the master's voice. They don't use that logo anymore for the younger people, but that's what it was. So I proceeded to tell this person, one of the honchos at RCA, I told him what he could do with Nipper the dog. And evidently he can't take a joke because he must have got mad about it because the next week when Billboard came out, I wasn't even in the top 100 in Billboard.
And that's kind of crazy the way that works. I mean seriously. Um,
What they got what Rob they got on there and they blackballed me. I got blackballed, and they pulled. Of course, they're a powerhouse. You know that they got on there and all the radio stations and demand them to pull all RCA records, my current record and everything. Do not play an RCA record by Leon Everette. Then the booking agency, I got blackballed. I was doing a television show back then, and y'all remember a police show that used to come on in 1983 called Houston Nights? It was a cop show, and
vaguely.
I was the police informant on that show. And but anyway, I used to do tons and tons of all kind of TV stuff. I had the Dodge truck commercials. Man, I had so many things going. And then when that happened, they blackballed me. I lost all my commercial contracts with Dodge. I lost everything. The booking agency dropped. I mean, nobody
Dude,
would touch me. The
dude,
promoters wouldn't touch me. The fair buyers wouldn't touch me. They killed my career like overnight, so to speak.
Literally.
Literally,
to, to,
literally.
to Leon's point, so many of the artists don't understand, and we harp on this, is that they all make you feel as the individual artist like you are the focus, you are the objective, you are what they're working for. They're working for you. That's not true.
It is not.
They're working for their network of each other, and you are the gasoline that moves through their engine. You're the fuel for them. And if one of them turns south on you real quick, then it's a domino effect
It
across the
is.
entire network. And it could be as simple as some but one of them. You made a beautiful enlightening understanding and realization that you said earlier. You know what, your attitude wasn't what it should have been, and all these other things, and you're probably 100% correct. But
It
you've
is.
got to and you've already forgiven yourself, because going from nothing to all of that, nobody's able to function normally. Nobody's built for that. Nobody's prepared for that. And at the time, with all your flaws and mistakes that were made, at the time, deep down, you were a good person, whether you let that part out or not. And you did the best you could with what you had to work with. That being
Exactly.
said, those same people wrecked more lives because of that network focus that they had. So many people who can't, they knew everything's built so you'll be moved beyond what you're prepared for. Everything about that business is built that way. I don't want you to feel like the only ugly girl at the dance, because I was right there with you at once upon a time. Not all the way to that, not all the way to that extent, but I wanted to be better. Looking back, I wished I'd always been better, and I wasn't.
See,
Well, Uncle Rhino,
back then when
go
all
ahead.
that was going on, RCA had big names. You had Alabama. That's a little band that a few people may have heard of. Earl Thomas Conley was
Yes.
out of this world in the mid '80s. Ronnie Millsap. I mean, y'all had so many people on that roster. So it's
We
like,
had Waylon,
oh,
everybody.
that's right. Waylon was still
Charlie
there.
Pride. I mean, we were all there together. But you mentioned Alabama. This is something that I don't know if y'all know. Alabama, myself, and you remember Sylvia?
Yep. Sylvia Hutton.
Sylvia, yeah, us three, we signed with RCA at the same time. Back in those days, they had what they called a New Faces show. Y'all remember Charlie Monk? They called
Yep.
him the
Yeah.
mayor of
Yep.
music. Yeah,
He
of
was
music.
Yeah.
doing Sirius
Okay,
Satellite for a long time.
Charlie Monk, he had this big thing, and they called it the New Faces show. And what that was, like independent artists on independent labels that made a lot of noise, so to speak, in the music industry, and had chart success in Billboard magazine. They had chart success. Well, they would take that those artists that year that had a lot of independent success going on, and then they would narrow it down to 10 artists, and they would vote on that and put it down to 10. And then they had what they call a New Faces show. The New Faces show was always right before the what they call it, CMA Fest now, but it used to be called Fanfare
Yep.
in
Yep.
Nashville. But they would do all this right before Fanfare, like a week or two before Fanfare. And then, and what it wasn't open to the public. It was only open to booking agents, record label people, music industry. And it was only open to that. And you had two songs. You had 8 minutes on that stage, and you're talking, doing whatever you wanted to do. You had 8 minutes and two songs to sell yourself. And so, anyway, out of those 10 that night, like I say, Sylvia, Alabama, and myself, we signed with RCA because I was on a record label called Orlando Records, which I had my first top 10 record, a song called Over. And, but anyway, but we signed with RCA. Juice Newton, she signed with Capitol. And
Mm-hmm.
then, yeah, Reba McEntire, she was the other one.
We
Reba
didn't see that.
signed. Yeah, Reba signed, and Juice signed, and there was somebody, Jim Weatherly,
Mm.
and he signed. Out of that 10, that's how many of us actually got signed that night. But like I say, there was three of us got signed to RCA. So that's how that worked back then.
I did fanfare in '85,
Did you?
and I met a lot of those people that you're talking about. Eddie Raven was another
Yeah, Eddie was there.
big roster spot on RCA. Evidently, I don't remember you being at fanfare in '85 because
I wasn't.
I would have definitely been there checking out. Johnny Rodriguez was
I
there. There was
wasn't
so
there
many
because,
people.
like I say, uh, that was right before everything happened. I was having a lot of
Yeah.
problems with someone at RCA. RCA loved me to death, but I was having trouble with someone that had a lot of pull.
Fast forward, you never really got out of music during that period, say from '85 to 2000, 2010. When what was in the life? You said you received God,
Yep,
you accepted Him. That
sure did.
is that where your whole life changed?
Yeah. Well, actually, when I left, I got blackballed from Nashville, like I said, and I left and I came home, and I stayed drunk 24/7. I mean, yeah, and I had a lot of money then. And after I was home, and like I say, staying drunk, I hated the world, hated everybody in the world, hated the music. Then I said, I'll never pick a guitar up again. And I didn't. And I wouldn't pick a guitar up. I wouldn't listen to music. And this went on like, I don't know, forever, for years and years and years and years. And then, so I was drunk. And I said, you know what? I used to play Gillies all the time, and I used to play the Billy Bobs all the time, and out in Oklahoma, what Dukes or whatever it is in Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and all this kind of stuff. I said, you know, man, they had some biggest nightclubs there was. I'm gonna build me one, and I came here to Aiken, South Carolina, and it's 12 and a half acres here, and it was used to be an old flea market on this property. Well, I got it, and I built the biggest nightclub in the southeast, and
Nice.
I could seat over 5,000 people in this nightclub. It's called Leon Everette Hurricane Central. And I had three gigantic dance floors all over the place. I could seat 5,000 people at tables. That's how big it was. And I did this. And like I said, I would bring other artists in and stuff. And the night, and I wouldn't even play it myself. I had bands. I'd book bands to play. I wouldn't play. I just wanted a big nightclub so I could stay drunk all the time. Be in my own nightclub.
Drink for free,
Yeah,
so to speak.
I didn't have to drink and then try to drive. I just fell out in my own
Passed out in
place.
your office. I mean, we laugh
But
now, but at that time it was not
yeah,
funny.
we make a joke out of it then. But I mean, in real life, it's sad. But that's where I was. And then, but that's when I found out I had a lot of friends in Nashville, Rob. It Waylon Jennings, Confederate Railroad, Tammy Wynette. I can go Ronnie McDowell, Norval Phelps. I
Love
can
those
go
names.
on and on and on and on. What I did, I know how the road works. So I call my buddies, what are you doing, man? I opened me a nightclub. Man, we thought you died or something, and I'd call them. And Hank
One of the
Jr.,
three times.
yeah, Hank Jr., we toured, me and Hank toured together for a year one time. But anyway, all these people, and I called them, I said, look, if y'all coming through Aiken, South Carolina, like playing at Atlanta or somewhere like that, going to Charlotte or whatever, if you're going up I-20, it's a watering hole. Y'all know what a watering hole. Y'all know what a watering hole is. I know Uncle Rhino does. I see him shake his head.
Mm-hmm.
Rhino was, I mean Rhino. Watering hole was, you know, you could pull in there anytime you wanted to. They don't even know you're coming. You can pull in, see buses coming in because they had a night off. They might have played Atlanta Friday night. They're gonna play Charlotte Sunday. Well, they ain't doing nothing Saturday anyway, so they're gonna come in. They can park the buses here, stay right here, have a good time, come in the club. It ain't gonna cost them nothing. The band can come in there and hammer down and let their hair
Yeah.
down and just have fun and be them, not doing a show. Man, they'd come in here and like Hank got up there, boy, he jammed out one night. David Allen Coe was it. I mean, just everybody. And my manager, sometime he would say, "Hey, there's three buses pulling in. Who is that?" I said, "I don't have a clue. I don't know who's
They
coming."
never told me they were coming.
Yeah, they didn't tell me nothing. They just,
Leonard Skinner shows up or whatever.
yeah, I mean, and that's the way it went. and they would pull in and do this here stuff. Well, the place stayed packed all the time because you never know. You might be there and somebody comes pulling in. And it became Leon Everett's watering hole. And so this went on for years. And then of course I got a divorce. I lost everything I had, so to speak, and I got a divorce. And actually, to be honest with you, I built an apartment right off of the club here. So so that I could walk from in here or stumble, let me say, I could stumble from here to the apartment. And I actually lived there because I got a divorce. And then I 29 years ago, well, actually 28 years ago, I seen the prettiest little thing, little blonde headed girl come walking in there. And I said, who is that girl? First time I'd ever seen her. And everybody else was saying, I don't know, but she sure is pretty. That's what that,
Depending to
I'm
find
looking
out who it
first now.
is.
I get first. Anyway, I got to talking to her and stuff like that. And she was going through a divorce. She was having a hard time. And she came in with her girlfriend. And they just happened to come out here. And she was a rock and roller, had no idea who I was. She didn't know anything about country music, didn't have a clue who I was.
She's sitting right
And
next
but
to
they just
you.
yeah, and come here, monkey. You gotta come here. Come here. Get right here real quick. This is my
There she
angel right
is.
here.
Hi,
She
29
said,
years
"Oh, you
ago.
getting on there?" But
Yeah.
I started talking to her, and one thing led to another, and found out she was going through a hard time. Anyway, long story short, I fell in love, and and she fell in love. So we dated, and we dated, and we dated. So, and this is what happened to my life, how my whole life changed. Like I said, I was drunk as a skunk, messed up, and still had a bad attitude. And so anyway, 29 years ago, I got tricked into going to a little country church. Now, I'm talking about a little country church, a little block building, maybe, I don't know, you couldn't put 50 people in there, you packed them in like sardines. I'm talking about one block building, no steeple, no name, just a little block building, country church. And it was a Pentecostal holiness church. Well, I ain't never been in church. I didn't know nothing about it. And this is a Pentecostal holiness church. So after being open for 7 years, I know this might be getting long, but it's kind of interesting. After being open for 7 years, and I built this place by code, the fire marshals came in here 7 years later, and they shut me down. Said I didn't have enough exit doors. Well, being drunk and not a good attitude that I had, then the fire marshals didn't get along too good that night. So, and I proceeded to tell them what I thought of them. And so anyway, it didn't do no good. They shut me down. And so they said, you got to get another exit door in there before we can let you open back up. Like I said, I knew tons and tons of people knew how to do that kind of work. I would call everybody I knew. And it ain't amazing. It's always so funny. Somebody, all your good friends, they got something to do whenever you really need them.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can get to it in a couple of weeks, or well, I got to do this, or blah blah blah.
Always got
It's
an
always
excuse.
yeah, always. Well, be honest with you, I done run slap out of people. So I knew this one guy, and he went to that little church, what I was talking about, that little Pentecostal holiness church, and he was a tongue talking, you know, fire on fire guy.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, I know he ain't gonna come down here and help me, that's for sure. But I ran out of somebody to call, so I called him. And you know what? He said, let me come down and see if I can help you out, brother. He came down, he helped me out. When we got the door and all this stuff, I helped him. We put the door in and everything like that. And he was putting his tools up. And I went over to a bar, was going to get some cash money to give him. And so I said, hey, brother, wait a minute, how much do I owe you? He said, oh, you don't owe me a thing. And he went on out the door and put his tools up. And he uh, put his tools up, and I kept counting money. And he stuck his head back in the door. He said, oh, by the way, church starts at 11 o'clock Sunday morning. I said, no, you didn't. You ain't going to no church.
Mm-hmm.
But
That was your payment.
that was it. And so, and I mean, he left, and I couldn't catch him. I was trying to catch him, try to give him, and he was going out the driveway hollering 11 o'clock Sunday morning. So I went to that little church. I got some people to stay up with me all night. We played pool and all this stuff. And I was drunk. I was so drunk, couldn't stand up on
Mm.
Sunday morning. And I got one of my employees, don't you drink? No, I'll pay you to be here all night long because you got to take me to that church. I'm going to pay my debt. So they got me in the truck the next morning and pulled up that little block building. I told them, I said, well, just stay right here. Help me get in and just stay here. I'm gonna go in and sit on the back seat for about 5 minutes, and I'm getting up. I'm coming out. That's it. I'm done. Well, I we did all that there, and I was so drunk, y'all. I fell. I had a little threshold about it, sticking up about an inch or two to keep the water out. That's how country it was. Keep the water out when it rained. And me being drunk, I hit that threshold and I went rolling right down, right down the center of that church.
Oh man.
Yeah, but nobody made me get up and leave and all. And anyway, long story short, I sit there at that church till it was over. I don't know what it was. Uh, After it was over, everybody just loved me and said, "Hey, man, everybody knew who I was, of course. Gosh, it's so good to see you in church and all that." There, and I mean, I'm sitting there drunk, can't even hardly talk,
Don't
and
know who
smelled like a.
you don't even know who you
I don't
are.
even know who I was, and I know I smelled bad, but they didn't care. So the next Sunday, I wanted to go back on my own then, and I did the same routine. I was drunk, so I got him to take me down there again. I did the whole routine, and I did this several weeks in a row, going drunk, 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 drunk. So my little Diane, my little angel, was going together then, and so she said, "Well, what are you doing?" And I said, "I don't know. I'm going drunk, but I like this little old church." I said, "Man, they get up there, and boy, they play some music in that little
Yeah.
church now." And I said, "Man, they got a better band down here. We got at the club." I said, I
Have
mean,
them
I
go play
loved
the
it.
club.
Yeah, boy, and I mean, I loved every minute of it, and I was just having a ball down there. But they didn't care if I was drunk. That was the thing. So she said, "Well, I want to go with you." So she went with me. She loved it. Me and her every Sunday morning we'd go down there. Then it got to where we're going Sunday night. We're going Wednesday night, and I'd tell my manager here at the club on Wednesday night. I say, "Me and Diane, we'll be back. You'll be back in a couple hours. Where are you going?" I said, "We're going to church. Just on Wednesday night." He said, "You've lost your mind."
While you're running a beer joint.
Yeah, but we go to that church anyway. We did this for about 6 months, and I don't know. One day we just came down and opened up the club. During the day we come in early and get some things, order stuff, and we opened it up, and man, and I was smoking 3.5 packs of Salem's a day and whatever else, drinking and all this
That
kind of stuff.
menthol going on.
Yeah, but I mean, we opened the door up and I said, "Oh God, this place stinks." And she walked in. He said, "I'm getting nauseated," and she went out. And she was smoking and drinking too. Now I always tell her she wasn't no angel. So, but she said she was a honky tonk angel. But anyway, so we walked out and I locked the door and threw the keys down across the woods down there. We walked out and left everything in here sitting here. Of course, they took it for taxes and all that stuff. I wouldn't pay a dime on it. I walked away from it. We did all that. And so I didn't know what was going to do then. But anyway, we wound up and we got married in that little church. And so we went on a honeymoon and we went to Florida for 2 weeks and we partied down. We was partying on
Of
our
course you
honeymoon.
did.
Yeah. And we came back the very first Sunday we came back. Diane, she got saved. She found the Lord. She got saved. 2 weeks later, I fell on my knees in that church. Like I tell everybody, I was crying like I ain't never cried before. Snot was running all down my face. I could have cared less. And I got saved. That night we came home. Let me tell you what I did. I burned all my cartons of cigarettes. I burned anything that wasn't godly. We were burning it. I took my vodka out of the closet. I had cases of vodka, and we poured all the vodka out. That's 29 years ago. And of course,
Mm.
I'd been to rehab. RCA made me go to a rehab clinic. That was one of the things we was fighting about. I didn't get into all that. But anyway, I'm not talking about rehab. I'm talking about a rehab clinic where you go in and live for 2 weeks and they actually give you injections, make you sick. I still couldn't quit. But the night I got saved, we poured all that. I've been clean and sober for 29 years, ain't wanted a drop. I haven't wanted anything. And so we've been serving the Lord for 29 years. And I said, well, my music career's over with, so whatever, you know. And so we just kind of got in church heavy. And then about 8 years ago, I think it was, remember little David Wilkins?
Yep.
He wrote, oh gosh, he wrote so many hits. Georgia Keeps Pulling on My Ring for Conway, and Brenda Lee Coming On Strong, and blah, blah, blah. But little David, he um he had a bunch of hits, monster hits himself. Remember the Butterbean song?
Yep.
The Butterbean song and One Monkey Don't Stop No Show, and all them there. Well, we were buddies from way back in the 70s. You know, we toured and got drunk and hung out together and all. Well, he finally called me and he said, brother, I know you won't play music or nothing like that. And I hadn't been in Nashville in 35 years. Said I'd never go back. He said, I have wrote a gospel song called I Stand the Tallest When I'm Down on My Knees. He said, I want you to come to Nashville and record it with me. I said, man, I ain't been in Nashville. I don't pick a guitar up. I said, I don't play music no more. It wasn't a day went by. He didn't call and beg me, beg me, beg me. And he said, please come and do the song with me. So I said, okay, if you'll just leave me alone, stop calling me every day, I'll come.
You do it
I
to
said,
shut
I
him
will come.
up.
Yeah. I said, I'll come to Nashville. I said, but I'm telling you, I don't do music. I ain't been in the studio in all these years. I said, I'll go in with you. I'll see if I can do it, but I'm headed back to South Carolina. Well, I went up there and done that with him. 2 weeks later, we came back to South Carolina, and after we recorded it, and it was 2 weeks before we got to come home. Anyway, long story short, they put that record out, gospel. It stayed number 1 for 5 weeks in a row on the gospel charts.
Right here is a great place to stop the interview. I got less than 1 minute. But I'm going to schedule you. I'm going to schedule you for another because
Super.
we've got a lot more here that you've
Yeah,
got to
we're
get
just
to.
getting started now. We're
Yeah.
just getting started.
Yeah.
You're allowed 40 minutes. So what we're going to do is that song that you told me, you asked me if Beverly sent it.
Yes. Lead Me Home. Oh, I love that's
Tell
one
us
of my
tell
favorite.
us in about 15, 20 seconds. Tell us about that song, and then we're going to play it at the end of this interview.
Well, you know, Jamie had it out about 10 years ago, Jamie Johnson, but Randy Houser and Greg Mundy wrote it. And I've just always liked that song. So I've been doing it on live shows with just an acoustic. I'll tell the band just back off and just me and my guitar player, we do an acoustic thing together.